Okay, so don't worry if you haven't started, that is your baby. So for the next 3 lessons we're going to look at the marketing specifically for as an educational publisher, a tertiary publisher, and then a trade publisher, and then we have our holiday break. So 3 lectures and then a break, which I'm sure you're all looking forward to already. Now, before we go into marketing for the educational, as an educational publisher, who of you have background knowledge or an understanding of the educational book publishing market in South Africa? Do you have any reference to that? Okay, so instead of me teaching you 100 techniques of what you can do, you need to understand first of all what the education space or the training space or the skills space in South Africa looks like. A starting point to understand this as a publisher, because this is where you will be delivering content to, is in a little structure we call the National Qualifications Framework. Who has heard of the NQF? Okay. You're all currently part of the NQF, because you're all currently in a higher education band, so you're busy with your masters and doctorates, so you are already on NQF level 7 once you get your honors and your masters, which is fantastic, okay? It does also mean that you are globally only about 5% of the world's population if you have a postgraduate degree. So realize that. Globally, 5% of the world's population, it's actually becoming less. Only 5% of the world's population has a postgraduate degree from a university. We've seen the dawn of mobile learning, spaces like Udemy. I don't know who has, yes, Udemy. We've seen Get Smarter. We've seen LinkedIn training, LinkedIn skills. So more and more, the world is kind of waking up to the concept that technology and the internet can help us to learn things. So you can, for example, do a course from MIT in the States, but you won't necessarily get the qualification. You can do a free course. If you want the qualification, you have to pay. So there is still value in the qualification and being able to prove those skills. Okay. But understanding the National Qualifications Framework is very important. So if you look at this, we start an NQF level 1, National Qualifications Framework level 1. We start with what we call General Education and Training, the GET band. Okay. So General Education and Training starts, ECD stands for Early Childhood Development, your preschool, so your grade RRR, RR, R, and then you go into school only. So Early Childhood Development is grade RRR, RR, and R. Okay.
So can you send this to me?
It's on, you can search anyone on the internet. NQF framework, then you have it. Okay. You need to know this because there is a big focus in government at the moment between teaching for early childhood development and the focus on teacher development and teaching at a secondary level and a post-schools level. So I'm trying to give you some context tonight. The marketing we're going to extract from that, but you need to know the context. So early childhood development is everything preschool, okay? Then we start with your foundation phase. Foundation phase is typically grade 1 to grade 3. That's your foundation phase. And then you go to the intermediate phase, which is grade 4 to grade 7. And then after grade 7, you go into your senior phases in high school. But in high school education, again, splits in South Africa. We have mainstream general education and training, and then we have what is referred to as further education and training, FET. And FET is what is delivered in South Africa by TVET colleges, Technical Vocational Education and Training, TVET. And TVET is another big focus in the South African government. We're going to link this to a couple of things. So on this hand, we have early childhood development, grade RRR, double R, what do you want to ask?
Intermediate.
Intermediate is grade 4 to 7. Yeah. Sorry, grade 4 to 7. And then senior phase is when you go into your high schools, and that's when senior phase splits into your mainstream senior phase and your FET. Okay. So further education and training is provided by the TVET colleges in South Africa. So typically what happens is when a learner gets to grade 10, remember in grade 10 you had to select subjects that you would take. You had to take specific subjects from grade 10, 11 and 12. So some learners decide that they don't want to stay in mainstream school, they want to go into technical and vocational training. So they want to learn skills to become something specific, like a plumber, for example, or like a boilermaker, or like a technical engineer. That you do in the FET, the TVET stream of education at the colleges. And the colleges don't look like schools. The kids wear normal clothes. It's not public school. It's a college. Okay. And then after school, post schools education is where we then get your degrees, your private and public higher education institutions. But that's for next time. But understanding the schools market in South Africa, you have to understand on one side of the spectrum, as a publisher, we have early childhood development, grades RRR, double R, 1, 2 and 3, then we go into grade 4, 5, 6 and 7. On the other end of the spectrum, we have technical college learners, grade 10, 11, 12 learners who've moved out of mainstream school, grade 10, 11, 12, and they go into vocational training. Now for the South African government, these two sides of the education sector is extremely important. Because all educational theory and pedagogy will tell you that the impact that you make on a child in education is in their formative years. And their formative years is early childhood development. So developing content, products and services for teachers and schools, public or private, in those early years. Okay. On the other hand, we're sitting with young people, and think about generational theory now. We're sitting with young people who at the moment are in grade 12, for example, or if they're in a TVET college, they're busy with their NQF levels. We'll talk about NATED and NCV just now. But they started school 20 years ago when early childhood development looked different. Okay. But they're going through a system that keeps changing because government's focus on vocational training has shifted tremendously. So who has heard about the 2030 development plan for South Africa? Okay, what can you tell me about that? Has anybody heard about that? That's right. So we have a list of things, outcomes for us as a country. And part of that National Development Plan is the focus to reskill a large proportion of the youth for vocations. So a vocation is not higher education. It is not a degree at university. It's skilling young people to be able to perhaps, if necessary, and which is very often the case in South Africa because of our social and economical circumstances, for young people to leave school at grade 10, 11 or 12 preferably grade 12 when they've done their higher certificate in a technical program, to be able to come self-sufficient, self-reliant, and make an economic contribution. Okay. So to understand educational publishing in South Africa, you have to understand that educational publishing is the biggest sector in the publishing industry in South Africa. Education is a tremendous focus for our government. Okay? But we're sitting with these, in terms of the spiel, if you want to call it that, of learners, we're sitting with critical needs on the side of early childhood development, where we don't have enough teachers who are skilled in early childhood development, and we're sitting on the other end with youth who have not been properly schooled in basic education, who now need to qualify in a vocational setting. Okay, that is our challenge in South Africa. So what happens is that government releases a new curriculum, and then publishers are tasked to supply content, to do submissions to government for textbooks in those specific areas. Okay. A very important document that I need you to read, and I think I've mentioned this before to you, is the PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Entertainment and Media Outlook. Just want to see if I have the full, I think I have the full document. I could probably email it to you, but if you know me, if I do forget, please forgive me. PwC, Entertainment and Media Outlook. One of them is Africa. I don't want to focus on Africa. I just want to check this one. So they do two. They do one where they compare South Africa to other African countries, and then they do one which is only South Africa. Okay. It could be this one. I think this one. Just want to see how the length of it is, because then I know it's the right one. Yeah, it could be this one. What is so critical about this document is the PwC Media and Entertainment Outlook. For any of your projects you're going to do this term with me, or for your final assignment, this gives you the best scope of media and content in South Africa. Where are we competing? Who are our readers, users competing with in terms of their attention? Where is their attention going? Okay. This document has a very, very good chapter on educational book publishing. Okay? So I'm just going to quickly go to that specific page, because I want to read something to you there. So the PwC Media and Entertainment Outlook. Okay. I wonder if I can make this bigger, that I can read it to you. The educational book market consists of elementary, high school, and university or college textbooks. Now, this is important. The educational book market in South Africa is decentralized, with the government providing educational books for state-owned primary and secondary school. Okay? In some schools, teachers choose the books and they place the orders. And in other schools, the province's Department of Education makes the decision and places the books. Now, this concept of decentralized is tricky for educational publishing in South Africa, because it does mean that we are, for lack of a better word, at the mercy of what government decides, where government decides to push education. Okay? When government releases a new curriculum or they change the outcomes in the curriculum, then publishers need to commission new content, make and create that content very often on pilot editions, submit for approval, and based on approval from government, they go onto a central list, and teachers can then choose from that list. Okay. Now, that list is fabulous when you get on there. But you still have to let teachers know what your content is about. So, publishers in the educational environment do a couple of things. Once their books get approved and they are on that national list, they can really start marketing. They do it very often with road shows, that they go to schools and they show teachers, they do workshop with the teachers on how the content works. So if you compare this with any trade title you recently read, this is not, we can't have a fancy Facebook campaign to market educational books in South Africa. Because teachers need to know, A, does this align with government's new outcomes for the content? B, how easy will it make my life? And that is the God honest truth. Teachers need to know that when you provide them with new content, you make their lives easier. So for example, any learner textbook will have a teacher's textbook as well, and very often additional supplementary material. Things like lesson plans, things like posters, things like an activity book. So things that teachers can use to help them teach. Because teachers are under a lot of pressure and their time is little. So very often publishing educational books, a very big part of the marketing expenditure goes into developing add-ons to a textbook that is free of charge, that you don't charge for, because you want teachers to subscribe or to prescribe your title. Okay, so this is now tricky. If you are not on that list that government made available for educational textbooks, you've invested a lot of money in developing material that nobody will use. You can publish it and you can try and market and sell it, but teachers will probably not buy it. Okay, so that's what happens in a public school setting. What do you think happens at private schools? And we're seeing the rise of private schools in South Africa. Bright Stars, the Advitech Group, Curo Group, Redford. It's unbelievable how many. So to what extent does private schools need to subscribe to the requirements of government? They do have to provide a curriculum aligned with the NQF, because at the end of the day you want someone to be able to finish, let's say, grade 7 with their home language at the right level, okay, to be able to go to further secondary education. But private schools are able to make their own decisions when it comes to content and delivering that content. They are not subjected to the requirements from government when it comes to delivering content. They can make decisions easier for themselves. So we're seeing a hell of a focus shift from the school book publishers to actually do a lot of their marketing towards the private schools. Because the private schools can be swayed to purchase content based on a fancy Facebook page. Okay. They don't have to look at the list that has been provided by government. Okay. So that's very, very important. Please have a good look at the 2030 National Development Plan. And what is paramount from this is that government's focus to have skilled vocational youth means that there is a tremendous focus on what is called NATED. I'm going to show you a publisher who does it very well. Who knows Tropant? How do you know them?
Their bookstores, like, specifically.
Okay, yeah. So Tropant is an educational publisher specifically for the TVET colleges. Remember we talked to the TVET colleges at the other end of the spectrum? They're a good one to have a look at in terms of the content that they have available. So what we have is you have either NCV, National Certificate, or you have NATED courses. So national certificate courses are still grade 10, 11, 12, and you get your grade 12 certificate. The moment you do NATED, you do NQF level 4, 5, and 6. Okay. That's just the distinction within the technical colleges, depending on whether you want a higher certificate, a national certificate, or whether you are going for a diploma. Okay, so there are your N1 to N6 courses, they're NATED, and then your NCV courses, which is your national certificate. Now this market is quite interesting because there are some submissions by government for content in this market, not as strict as your general education and training. But the focus here is very much on youth development. So we're seeing publishers develop a lot of add-ons related to workplace skills. Okay. So workplace skills are things like work readiness, being able to communicate well. So a lot of products and services related to how do we make the youth ready for work. Okay. And so you'll see a lot of marketing activities from publishers not focused on the content that they have, because the content is there, the content is prescribed by government, the content and the development of this market is supported by the National Development Plan. We even now go so far as we have the QCTO, the Qualifications and Certifications Training Authority, all the SAQA, they're all aligned with, you don't remember all the names, I just need you to be aware of it. They're all aligned with the outcome of ensuring that the youth are more employable when they finish at grade 12 level, whether they've done a national certificate or whether they've done N1 to N6. Okay. So as an educational publisher, you choose and you decide in which space you play. Some publishers, like Nasova Africa, plays in the entire spectrum. They play in early childhood development, foundation phase, senior phase, secondary phase, and TVET colleges. Other publishers, like Tropont, focus specifically on the technical and vocational colleges. Another good one to look at is a company called Future Managers. Who has heard of them? So Future Managers, we create practical, relevant, high quality learning material for students. Just show you. They've got a very lovely ebook app. They're part of PASA. I just want to see where their book list is. So you see interactive tests, toys, posters, lecturer support, catalogue. Lecturer support is extremely important in educational publishing. But those are a couple of the things that they do. So when you look at educational publishing, you have to be aware of the fact that what publishers do and how they market books is driven by what government wants the outcomes to be related to education. Okay. Given that it is the biggest sector in South Africa, in a very strong relationship with government, means that publishers have really to pull their resources together very often to get government to listen to the industry. And that's where PASA plays a vital role, for example, in ensuring that collectively the educational publishers has a voice with the South African government. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Is it starting to make sense? Yes, Wilson?
The TVET colleges, do they include the technical training colleges?
Yes.
Where you go for 3 months skills? They include
Yes. So, for example, if you study to be an electrician,
yes.
Electrician, you could do that at a technical college as well. And this starts to fringe on what we call post-school training, which is the tertiary market. So whereas in South Africa we qualify the tertiary market for publishing mostly as higher education, so your degrees at universities or universities of technologies, you will get, for example, that CPUT, which is the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, they will place learners who does electrical engineering with them, for example, in a TVET college to complete their actual practical as well. So there's a very close relationship, but not in terms of the content and how we market, because the content is still marketed at a post-schools level. But where the students are placed, that would be at those technical colleges. Okay. Who knows anybody who's studying at a technical college? So where do we all come from? We all come from a higher education or a secondary school environment. Hey? Where did we all go to school? Where did you go to school, Mr. Cool?
High school or?
High school.
I went to Bishop McNamara High School.
Okay.
It's
Normal high school, not technical.
no, it's a Catholic school.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool. And you?
Escort High School.
Escort. Oh wow. Are you training there? That's bloody cold there.
Kamani High School.
Kamani?
Yeah.
Where's that?
In Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga?
I went to Midway High School in Limpopo.
And Papa? Wilson?
I went to Catholic school, St. Thomas Aquinas.
Wow. Where's that?
I was in West Africa, Ghana.
In Ghana.
Yeah.
I went to Bangkok High.
Randolph High?
Ladysmith High School.
Ladysmith?
De La Salle.
Where's that?
It's in Lidl. It's
Okay.
King's School.
Okay. Now, from your experiences when you were young and you had textbooks, where do you think those textbooks came from? Did you work out of textbooks?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the school.
From the school.
Right.
Okay.
Gave us a list.
Okay, so do you remember last time we talked about the primary and the secondary target market? So who's the primary target market in educational publishing?
The primary teachers, right?
The government in a public school system, I'd say.
If government makes the decision based on submissions of which titles go onto a list, who's our primary target market in educational publishing?
The curriculum provided by the government.
We have to align with the outcomes provided by government. So as an example, who has heard that history will now be reintroduced as a compulsory subject?
Yeah.
And your thoughts on that?
It's not.
It's not a compulsory subject, and now they're going to take away life skills for the grade 12 learners and reintroduce history. So life skills was a bit of a waste because teachers used that as an extra period when they didn't get other work done, and now they're reintroducing history.
I think that they should have taken life orientation and filled it with more, like you say, TVET being more
Practical stuff.
practical.
Yeah.
What did you say? Workplace skills.
That's right.
They should have incorporated
If they
that.
had actually taught LO in LO, then
Every high school learner tells me that. Yes.
When I heard it, I just wondered which history. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like with maths.
Yeah.
maths is the
No, but I can do extra math.
They should have made it compulsory.
They should keep format
Okay, so the question of which history will be taught, we're still out on that. But now let me highlight to you the challenge that we have in South Africa. If government decides to make the official curriculum available for the new compulsory grade 12 history subject at school, then let's say they make it available next year, March. Let's give them sufficient time. They make it available, they call for submissions from publishers for textbooks, and the publishers have until September next year, so let's say 2019, to submit books. What happens with teacher training? Do we have teachers who can teach history? Not at the moment. Because history has not been a compulsory subject. We have an extremely small pool of history teachers in South Africa. Very, very small.
They probably retire.
And now you need one in every school.
Good thing to specialise in.
Yes. So you see the effect that a decision that has been made by government impacts what's happening now at a school level. So teachers have to be retrained, the teachers who are currently in practice, but also the impact it has for teacher training at universities of technologies. We don't have the teacher colleges anymore. We used to have those. And immediately that impacts, and suddenly the students who were 20 taking teaching history in their second year suddenly becomes 800. And there's an opportunity for business for tertiary publishers. Okay. So one impact by government. That's why we have to keep in mind that for educational publishing in South Africa, our primary target market is government. We have to align with their vision, their mission, and the outcomes they set for education.
So how do you then market to government? How do you make an
Tell
appeal to them?
We have to talk about this.
Okay, yeah, I just
How do you market to government?
seems like a very authoritative entity to.
Because it's a pure desire. It's a good thing that they want to impact education for the best outcomes. Sometimes the execution just lets us down. So it's not a bad thing. But if government is your primary target market, now this sentence here, in some schools, teachers choose books that the school orders and buys. In other schools, the province's Department of Education provides a catalogue of approved titles from which a school makes its selection. So here we have government, the National Department of Education, basic education, okay? Then you have the provincial departments. Within each province, the elective government in that province decides, are we going to supply schools with a catalogue, or will we allow teachers to buy from the national catalogue? So that's another factor influencing who we market to, okay? So Western Cape, for example, decides they are going to use their own lists, okay? They're not going to use national government lists. Free State uses national government lists. Northern Cape creates their own lists and gives to teachers. So in a publishing company, you cannot scale your marketing activities nationally because it's literally different for each province. So how would you market educational textbooks in South Africa, given that your primary target market is government, possibly provincial government, and you cannot, one size does not fit all.
Oh, one parts of this sector right Whoa.
I'd venture so far as to say we could probably call it relationship marketing. The role of a sales rep / marketing representative / I don't know what, they're really sales reps, within an educational publishing company is vital. Those sales reps are not there to pendle around with books in the back of their car, but to build a relationship with government. So you'll see very often when applying for, or when jobs come available, new jobs in the educational industry, especially high-level jobs, so your kind of C-suite jobs like CFO, CEO, CIO, they will ask you straight out in the job advertisement, must have good connections or good clout with government. And clout does not mean corruption, don't read it wrong. It means, are you a person of influence? Okay.
That's another way of putting it.
Yeah. Are you able to build relationships? Okay. So to give you an example, did training in Escort on digital, so teaching teachers how to use ICT in education. We did a whole week worth of training. Every day, the representative from government was there. The digital learning representative from KZN province was there, attending the training. And who else was there? The publisher that I worked for, their sales rep was there. He wasn't there to attend the training. He was there to talk to this gentleman and build that relationship and say, what about this? What about that? Could we have budget for this? Could we have budget for that? Don't you think you should look at that? Influencing and planting ideas.
Okay, now.
Yes.
It's very vague.
Was the publisher sales agent is busy building those relationships, where is the author? Because clearly, since you've got a divided market, it's now not a simple matter of getting one author to write on the topic for the whole country. So you'll be dealing with a host of.
It depends, Wilson, because for most publishers, let's say we took a subject like business economics for grade 10. Each publisher will identify their own author for that. It could be the author they've used before. It could be new authors if they feel they want to commission something from scratch. The role of the author in educational publishing is almost non-existent. They have no sway in publishing decisions that are made. When you submit to government, for example, when you do submissions, textbook submissions, you have to do them anonymously. So they will throw out submissions that are not anonymous. So, I mean, it's a hell of a lot of work for publishers. So let's say you did a book, in the old days we said galleys, now we'll just call them proofs, okay, and you've did a rough print on demand bind on that. But on your proofs, your typesetter didn't take out your name at the bottom. You can't copy it out with a black permanent marker. They actually ask you to cut out the name because you can still hold up a black marker. So the publisher is completely anonymous in a submission as well as the author. So you cannot start marketing before your book hasn't been approved for a national or a provincial list.
But before it is approved, you have to
Make
have a
all that
relationship.
you have to have a relationship.
So it seems like you're marketing without a product.
Absolutely. Because education is education. You can't market a product. You are marketing the value, the unique selling points that that product has. But your sales reps have to be there to maintain the relationship and not to go and say, here's our book, don't you think this is nice? If they don't have the relationship.
But wait,
But we do,
it seems
we
like.
do, okay, sorry.
No, what my comment was that it seems like when, well, there's no product, but yeah, I'm tripping up over that part.
Remember, they have products now. At the moment, they have textbooks that they sell.
Okay.
So they can sell those textbooks. But when there is a new call for submission, you cannot sell that product until it's been
Gotcha.
approved.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yes?
I just wanted to say that it's not a strange phenomenon. It is, that practice exists in other professions also. For instance, if you lay out a township, if you go out to the site, there's nothing that tells you this is your plot or that is your plot. It all exists on paper somewhere.
Yeah.
So the people are selling an experience on paper which doesn't exist on the ground yet. But
Absolutely.
You have to buy it because if you don't buy it, you lose out.
So publishers are not allowed to start, let's say they have a whole catalogue, and I'll show you, for example, a catalogue. We can use Nosova Africa as an example. I just want to see why I'm not getting their catalogue now. Oh, my downloads. So you can have a whole catalogue of books that you can continue to market. The moment government decides that those outcomes change, they'll have a call for submission and you have to update that material. Okay. The moment they have a call to submission, you have a hell of a financial investment upfront to get that material to a level where you can submit it confidently. You do writing, designing, imaging, layout, cover, everything. For all intents and purposes, you've invested as much money as you would to make 2,000 books to make one book for submission. Sometimes it's 6 copies. And then you hope it gets approved.
But if it's not,
You lose the investment. Now that is the trick in educational publishing.
wow,
And that's why it's really a tough industry.
it's a real gamble, like a
It
real
is
dice
a real
roll.
gamble. You can have that book on your list, but now you must remember, teachers are going to look at your catalogue and say, oh, but that one wasn't approved, it's not on our provincial list, I can't order that. So what's the point of marketing it? So you market what you get approved at government level. Now publishers have taken this, let's look at something. So you see there's a learner's book, teacher's guide, there's for foundation phase, senior phase, FET. So let's quickly look at a learner book for, sorry now my internet's slow. Just want to show you what it looks like. We're finding your stuff clearly. Be quick about it. So let's say learner's book. Let's do business economics, just as an example. The South African publishing industry, and I think I mentioned this during the first lecture, has downsized from 5 billion to 3 billion in 2 years because we didn't have submissions. So publishers are selling what they're selling. Now the big worry at the moment in educational publishing is, hey, yeah, I think you know, when is government going to do their own publishing?
Whoa.
They're gonna say every this, basically.
I mean, they're in the perfect position.
So
to do
what prevents government from saying, for history that we're going to implement, we're not going to call on submissions from publishers. This is such an old model of doing business. Why should we support this cultural industry? If we are able to commission, for all intents and purposes, a consultant, i.e. subject matter expert, to write this for us and we print it centrally and distribute it to schools.
That'd be a lick. That's a lick.
And that's the trend of governments at the moment.
Okay?
That's the trend of governments at the moment. Everything's being nationalized.
Yeah. If something like that happens, do you see the impact that it has on educational publishers?
And considering that this is the largest sector in
Yes.
South Africa.
The fear, another fear, so state publishing is a big challenge in educational publishing. Another one is what is called the one textbook policy. So the one textbook policy will make education entirely centralized. To say, National Department of Education decides that this is the only textbook for English grade 8 second language. That means that whereas previously 15 publishers submitted 15 brilliant titles for approval, one title gets selected. One publisher will win the lotto and 14 others will not.
But won't that increase the general prices of books and there'll be no competition? So which
It
means
could.
books can just go up and up and up
Yeah.
and you could eventually
You
not
can
learn
really,
anymore.
Exactly.
You can't afford the
Yeah.
textbook.
A monopoly.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's very scary.
So if you sit in, and I wonder if maybe, I'm sure PAS's meetings are now in August. Maybe if they're up here, I think we should tell Colleen we all need to get an invite. That we can just sit in on those educational publishing sessions, that you can hear the way publishers talk, because the educational publishers. Because there is a real anxiety about the future of educational publishing. Where is it going to go? And you cannot stop certain trends. Trends will be trends, and things will happen. But that's a big challenge for educational publishing. So one of the ways that educational publishers are countering that threat is with teacher training. So they see that teacher training at the higher education level is not good enough, and they actually develop their own teacher training programs. Most of the educational publishers do that. And they use these teacher training programs in conjunction with their textbooks. So it's like subliminal marketing.
So who runs them?
The publishers themselves.
So they must be in what do you call it, collaboration with some of the private
Yes.
schools.
So now we're seeing publishers, sorry, I'll get right back to you, expanding their business model to become accredited training providers. You cannot just provide teacher training and teachers will come. Their time is little. So in South Africa we have SACE, the South African something for education, Council for Education. You get certified with them as a training provider. So now South Africa is certified. Oxford is certified. So publishers have put in documents and documents and documents of work to become accredited training providers to teachers. And they develop their own courses, and those courses get accredited. And what those courses include is, for example, how to teach English first additional to foundation phase. That could be a course, and in that course the teachers learn lesson plans, presentation skills, practical skills, how to do data sheets of learners' marks. There can be various skills within that course, but they'll reference back to the material they've developed. Yes?
Isn't that what teachers learn when they go to university, though, to become teachers?
Do they?
How do teachers go to university? Don't teachers have to get a...
Can I be honest with you? And it's a big challenge in South Africa. Remember that first video we watched? What you learn in your first year will be out of date by your fourth year. And it's very true for education. Not because the curriculum changes, but because the learners change. So what happens, for example, in a school is that I'm a teacher, I've been teaching grade 4 maths my entire life. That is what I've been trained to do. And then suddenly there's a gap, 2 teachers leave, we don't have budget to appoint new teachers, and my headmaster tells me, you now have to go teach grade 3 English first language because we need someone there. We've got 2 teachers for math, she has to take on an extra class and you need to move to English. I've never been trained to teach English. And that's a reality. So teachers, just like nurses, doctors, lawyers, have to gain what we call PDP points, professional development points. That's linked to SAQA, the South African Qualifications Authority, and it goes into the NQF as well. So as a nurse, for example, you have to acquire certain PDP points on an annual basis so that you can continue practicing to be a nurse. The same for teachers. You have to accumulate, I think, 15 points a year, SACE points, SACE PDP points to continue being a teacher.
It's in every profession.
Every profession. The problem, we have currently at government level, we don't track teachers who have actually, unfortunately the SACE database is a bit of a demarcation. But the intention is good. Teachers need to be upskilled while they are doing teaching. So publishers use teacher training as a way to market their product.
So question, the teacher training, who is the target market, or the target audience for these products?
For teacher training products, I would say the teachers themselves. You don't even go to government. So you initially get government on board, and so if you look at someone like Via Africa, their Digital Education Academy is in partnership. So they negotiated relationship marketing customer relationship management, CRM, customer retention. They negotiated with government to say, this is what we'd like to do, we'd like you to give this an okay. Because if a school sees that you have okayed it, then they will also automatically take it. No, I can't go into that. I just want to show them a course. Okay, so this is all accredited. Government says they approve of this, and it's been accredited by SACE, the South African Something for Education. I think it's council.
That's clever. That's clever. That's clever.
So we cannot, in educational publishing, we cannot market books like we do trade. We cannot market books even like we do higher education. They've got some really nice courses. I just want to go into one of these and see if it shows the accreditation. Let's just close some of these. So digital learning in schools for Windows users. There's 3 levels that you do. They do it online. Look how really affordable that is. 125 Rand per course to do it online. And I've done some of these online. They really are very good. And if you purchase it, it does say accredited by, supported by the National Department of Education, accredited by SACE. South African Council for Educators. So we don't go, yes, we have a catalogue of products. Yes, at the moment, we go to schools, we show them our products, if our products are approved or on the provincial list or the national list. Keeping in mind that at any point government can do government printing and we can move to a one textbook policy. And then this entire industry and everybody that it employs becomes null and void.
But I don't think the government is going to go down that road.
We hope not.
Yeah.
We hope not. Not just for the sake of the industry, but also for the sake of the economy. I mean, it's...
For the sake of the economy.
Yeah. Okay. So they are, marketing in this industry is extremely challenging. Early childhood development is getting a hell of a focus, and then on the other end, the youth development and work readiness. So who has heard about the PILS publication? I think I have one on my desktop because it's so there we go, PILS report. It's so important. Just read it when you have time. Let me just open it up. PIRLS, very important for educational publishers. So this is the PILS literacy report for 2016 for South Africa. It came out last year, October. PILS stands for the Progress in International Reading Literacy Study, assesses reading comprehension and monitors trends in reading literacy at 5-year intervals. PILS has assessed 4th year reading comprehension, so it's grade 4, in over 60 countries since 2001 and set international benchmarks for reading comprehension. Okay, so this report came out in October, November 2017 for South Africa. Okay, there's the different cycles. I just want to see where the summary is. When this came out, people were like, what? Okay, give me the summary. I don't want to read all of this to you. It's the assessment that they do, the sample. It basically said, in summary, that our grade 4 learners cannot read and don't read. Here we go. It's right at the end. See? Supported by Department of Basic Education. So what came out of this report is that reading comprehension at a grade 4 level for us in South Africa, I think we scored, we scored, let me just see where we are, there's the center point, we definitely scored below that for reading comprehension. There we go, South Africa, right at the bottom of the 60 countries. So when this report came out last year, obviously Department of Basic Education had to react to it, because it's very important. The publishers reacted to it. the effect that this report had is that early childhood development publishing and training of teachers is getting a lot more focus. We have, if you look at the development of teachers, and there are so many reports, we have a high number of teachers in your intermediate phase. So grades 4 to 7, and then grades 8 to 10 at a high school level. We've got a large number of teachers in that space. They are older teachers, they're not the younger teachers. Okay, so they are, they're going to get old and retire, but they have a lot of experience and knowledge in that side. We don't have enough teachers for early childhood development and foundation phase, and we don't have enough sufficiently qualified teachers, grade 10, 11, 12 at the high school level. Okay. So what came from this PILS report is that government said there has to be a greater investment in teachers in early childhood development. And so you're now seeing a lot of publishers developing courses on early childhood development. The universities, I'm here, I love this place, is too slow to act on these things. Because at the end of the day, this is a big sailing ship that has to steer in a direction. The publishers, as accredited training providers, are much quicker to be able to respond to something like this and provide the training that teachers need.
Yes, but Ruby, the model is wrong.
Totally.
I don't believe that the investments that they're putting in now will yield the desired results. Because the model requires one teacher per classroom. There's not enough time for that teacher. It doesn't matter how many materials you develop. They must change the model. And until they change it, it's not going to change.
No, it's not. And the thing is, even what the publishers do, although it's a business opportunity for them, it's a short-term solution to a big problem we have going forward into the future with our education system. But, from us speaking from the publishing industry, there is an opportunity for us now to address that and to make money from it. So what happens is the publishers ask a fee for the courses that they give, and very often where public schools do not have funds to present, to pay for those courses, they go into a sponsorship agreement with sponsoring parties. So any company in South Africa now, when you go onto their corporate social investment page, what is their big investment? Think about Capitec, think about Nedbank, think about Vodacom, think about Simba for that matter. The youth and education. Where publishers are trying to address the matter is to say there's no point in just building classrooms. We have to train the teachers. We have to give a better skills force. So you're also seeing a lot of publishers working with global and local private companies to create products and services that they can sell onto schools via sponsorship, so the school pays nothing to help improve the situation in the school. Okay. So publishers, educational publishers, are making money from other things than purely content. We're creating content, but now we're creating it for teacher education. We're going into a relationship with other teachers. Can I give you an example? Oh, it is a shocking example. It's a reality. So earlier in the year, or I think it was August, it was last year, September, the KZN Department of Education, there was another report that came out from some NGO that said young girls in the province miss out nearly 60% of their school days because of menstruation and they're not able to go to school. So the Department of Basic Education had a tender for people to come in with solutions. Who do you think tendered? Not Lillette's, ladies and gentlemen. Publishers. Think about this. If every child is supposed to get a textbook and publishers deliver to schools, so this was one very clever publisher that said in every box of books we deliver, we include these amounts of sanitary towels. Brilliant. No cost to government. So publishers are playing in spaces where they've never had to play to build that relationship, to show that they're investing in education and the youth in South Africa. We cannot market a title. We can market it to the private schools and to the private higher education colleges. But where we are now, our reality in South Africa is the largest portion of our youth is still in public schools in South Africa with many social challenges. And that is beyond content. And publishers are playing in that. And relationship marketing is vital. Road trips are vital. Getting the right salespeople is vital. When you speak to any sales rep in an educational publishing house, they will tell you they are on the road 5 days of every working week. Driving to schools, meeting teachers, meeting headmasters, saying, what are your challenges? What is going on here? What do you need help with? Not, here's my latest book. Challenges, and we also have this. It's a big thing. Okay. So just to show you, for example, so this PILS report had a very nice summary of the recommendations. So here it says, strengthen teaching of reading literacy and training of pedagogical content knowledge of teachers across all languages in the foundation phase, especially African languages. Now can I mention another challenge to you? We're going to walk out of this positive. We would think that teachers get trained at university on reading literacy and the pedagogical content knowledge for a specific subject. Okay? I've now mentioned a challenge that happens at the schools and why the teachers don't have that knowledge. Alright. What happens in grade 4 with our language policy at schools? Does anybody know?
Take up additional language.
Okay. And can I ask you, in what language did you write matric? It's not your first language. In what language did you write matric? Is it your first language? Okay. Hear me out. In South Africa, our language policy for schools is grade 1 to 3, you must be educated in your mother tongue. From grade 4 to 12, the school, whether public or private, and the school governing body can decide which language. Yes.
The school.
The school. So now,
For you or for everyone else?
hey,
For the school. For the
the school. So when I do teacher training, for example, I will tell the teachers, why aren't you teaching the children in grade 4 in Setswana? And they'll say, no, English is the language of the future. Now we have a challenge in South Africa because our African languages, the dialect from province to province for Setswana, for example, is different. So the challenge for publishers is, how do I publish a Setswana history textbook for grade 4 if the dialect is so different? I'm going to have to create one for KZN and create one for Mpumalanga and create one for Limpopo. And how many of those am I realistically going to sell to make a return on my investment?
Okay, so what has been currently happening with dialects, because I think it's in most languages.
Yes.
Then I think there's an agreement on one.
On one.
Standard one, which everybody writes,
Yes,
but they may not necessarily all speak.
that's right. So now you get a teacher that speaks one dialect of Setswana, for example, but her learners understand another dialect of Setswana. And I'm saying these things just to alert us all, because we are all grown-ups in this class, that the challenges that a very large part of our population face is that they're writing matric in something that's not their mother tongue. And publishers don't know where to go with that. Okay. That is a challenge for us in South Africa. So I went and I gave training for teachers on how to teach grade 3 English first additional language where the teachers themselves were not English speakers. So having to train them in language and how to use commas, and I mean, I don't know half the stuff. I'm Afrikaans, so English is also my second or third language. But those are challenges our teachers face on a daily basis. Publishers are addressing those with other products and services that are not textbooks. Teacher training, to train, to train. Publishers make a lot of money out of that. Increase the proportion of time spent on reading. So as an example, reading at a grade 1 level should be 15 minutes of a child's week in grade 1. 15 minutes at school reading. That's what the curriculum says.
That's not enough.
So if we as a bunch of normal blokes and girls in this class can say, yo, 15 minutes is hardly enough. That's what our curriculum currently states. Grade 2, 30 minutes. Grade 3, 1 hour a week.
It needs to be like
An hour a day.
Initiate
that's
pre-primary campaigns for parents and teachers. So pre-primary campaigns for parents and teachers. So a lot of young, small children are not going into early childhood development, grade triple R, double R and R, because the parents don't see the value in that. So they go into grade R. Now, I must say, luckily, for example, Panyasa Lesufi in Gauteng has now said, if you want your child to be in grade 1, he has to be in grade R in another school, and you have to be on the system. Okay, the system bombs out. We'd be thankful for the system because the system is now actually getting people to register their child. And the same if you go to grade 8. So things like that are happening using technology. All right. But we need campaigns for parents to understand the value of getting your child to school. Now, why would a publisher invest in something like this?
More kids, more books.
Sorry.
More kids, more books.
Okay, if it's more kids, more books, why are publishers not establishing reading clubs of schools? You know, when I was a kid,
That's your
the reading we did, which made us who we are, we didn't do it in class. We had assignments. You had to read so many books in a month. Everybody had to read so many books in a month. And they had a way of adjudicating it. So, this recommendation, did they talk about that?
They did talk about that. Let me give you the counter argument, Wilson, because I've now worked a lot in schools. When you go to a school that is in a deep rural area, let's say I was at a school close to Vryburg, the community around the school is already socially at a dire point. Unemployment is high. So to expect from the parents and the community, and dare I even say the teachers, to have that constant positive attitude to buy into things like this is hard. If your first aim when you wake up in the morning is not to send your child to school but to eat, that is the reality of our country. So to say a book club, yes, I would teach at a deep rural school in Vryburg. There's no library. So the curriculum says the children must read for 15 minutes a week. There are no resources for them. So they do get, Publishers Oxford has very nice, the Big Book series. I don't know if you've seen them. They are massive books like this for foundation phase, and the teacher will put the book on her lap, and then the kids read with her. So in grade 1, you must read with your finger. You must do that so that you can read every word. So the teacher holds the big book and reads with them. So that's one of the products from Oxford that's really, really brilliant. So they have those. They have maybe 6 of them for the teachers themselves. But now you go into grade 2 and 3. And we actually have to train teachers to think about where can they get reading material. So as an example, we said, take the Spard pamphlet that has bread, milk, butter, eggs on it. Cut them out, put them on paper, write eggs, and then eggs in Setswana. And make little books so that we can teach children at least the concept of reading. Or if you don't want that, just have old newspapers in the class and let kids just page through it so that they get the idea that there's written word. I can access information here somewhere. But publishers are having to do a lot of that training. Because, and the question is, but what happens at university? So we teach them a lot of theory and pedagogy and all the fancy people, but the practical skills are lacking. Okay. And it's not just for education, it's for a lot of things. And that's where the whole, so there's this whole argument. If you have a degree from university, how practical, how easy can you walk into a job and do it? The privilege of higher education is not to be able to do a job. I'm going to say it, but to be able to think about things. And that's our privilege.
But you see, it all points back to national planning. You see, if you look at the failure rate at universities and the cost of that failure rate, if you take that cost and you invest that cost back into all these resources we are talking about, you come back to zero. So, I think our priorities are wrong, really.
It's very hard to say, Wilson. It's very hard to say. Because everyone's trying to kind of focus on their area.
Maybe I'm an idealist.
No, I think it's wonderful. But the message what I want you to take home today is that A, educational publishing is the biggest publishing sector in South Africa. It's currently, the way textbooks are used or marketed is decentralized according to submissions. So your book gets placed onto a national or a provincial catalogue. Once it's on a catalogue, you can sell and market it to schools. If it's not on a catalogue, no one is going to be interested. The industry faces a lot of challenges that are related to our national challenges. We cannot shy away from that. Whether it's early childhood development or youth employment, those two extremes, that is currently where the big gaps are for educational publishers. And in order to address those gaps is not so much with product and services, but with relationships that we build, with things that we do to alleviate the social challenges within those two spheres. So you can do roadshows, you can do new book notices, you can send out an email to teachers, which you won't be able to do because most teachers at schools in South Africa don't have email. There's one email. That is the reality. So you can't send out an email to say, Platinum Series 5, Maths Grade 4. They're not going to get it.
But it also comes back to the culture. You see, we must use what we have. Every teacher has got cell phones.
Yes, I like where your thinking is going. Yeah?
So getting an email is not really a stretch from there. So if we really wanted to change the culture, we could do.
Whose responsibility is that?
Well, I think it is part of the curriculum and the way in which content is delivered. Even if the state won't do it, I think the publishers can start to do it.
Yes.
Because remember, the publishers are building relationships with the schools and the teachers. And the publishers can actually start
That's spot on.
doing that.
That's spot on.
Publishers are almost like the educators of educators.
Precisely.
Yes.
You see.
So what publishers are doing, so this was a project that we worked on with a publisher together with UNESCO, was to teach foundation phase English first additional language to foundation phase teachers whose home language is not English or whose second language is not even English. Lesson learnt. They gave every teacher in that program a tablet with an email address. There you go. Did the teachers use it?
They want.
Because there was no training. Big fail on that project. They didn't do actual change management to show teachers how a device like a tablet or a mobile phone could make their jobs easier, because that's what they need to understand. So typically schools where I engage, there are very few teachers who have an email address. Very few teachers. But that's one end of the market. We do have the other end of the market where every teacher does have an email address. So publishers, the big thing is they cannot have a one-for-all marketing campaign. You cannot say that if I'm going to market my Platinum Series 5, Maths Grade 5, this is my plan and I'm going to stick to it. You're probably going to have a plan that segments your market quite detailed and to say, this is the plan for that market, this is the plan for that market. And one of the ways to do it is to go and to say provincial level, district level, school level. This district, there's very little cell phone reception. So mobile's not going to work. We're going to have to do a roadshow. In this district, it's right in the inner city. There's free Wi-Fi provided by Tshwane. I think we should do mobile, possibly email, and perhaps send them a link to a video where our publisher or the author talks about the book. But you cannot in educational publishing use the same thing for everybody. Whereas in trade, for example, if we did the President's Keeper, we could pretty much have a message across who we would think would be the reading population. But because so much of what we do in educational publishing is influenced by what is happening nationally, socially, textual analysis, politically, economically, socially, legally, technology-wise, our marketing plans are extremely segmented. We have to look at the school, we have to look at the province, the school, the district, the province, nationally. And so it's better to take a kind of an inside-out approach with marketing to schools. Start with your product, decide who's going to use your product once government has approved it. Profile the teachers. Remember we did user profiling? And profile them according to who will be the teacher? What do teachers look like in South Africa? I do have a teacher that is in Sandton High, lots of access to technology, good internet. For this teacher, we do that. User profile, teacher in Freiburg, unable to access the internet, low connectivity, challenging social environment. What do they need? And we use this across, remember we said this relates back to research and development, so R&D of your products as well. You have to segment very, very well in educational publishing. And the only way to do that is to understand what does the educational landscape look like in South Africa and what is the challenges that we face. Anything you need to ask me, anything you need to tell me? Yes.
Yes, on solo lectures, you said that you would send us the slides or the information.
I know, I'm so sorry guys. The last one I was telling Lewis now, I couldn't send the market research one because there was some customer sensitive information that I had to get rid of. So for this one, I'll send you the links. The PwC report, I'll send you the PILS report. If it's too large, too big, I hope it downloads, otherwise I'm sure Colleen could send it to you as well. But those two tonight is really the important ones. PwC and the PILS report. The National Development Plan you can get on the internet.
But the schedule for this course as well?
For this class. Oh yes, this one. Sorry, let me just, why is it closed? It's now tired. It's decided it wants to give up. There we go, this schedule, hey?
Yes, this one.
Okay, let me email that to you now. This one, oh, hey, hello. So there's the big timetable and then there's mine in it as well. So let me send that to you all now, while I am here. Let me just go into iCloud. Okay, besides that, anything else you need to ask me or tell me based on tonight's class?
So you just did say we have to only email our
Assignment, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll print them out, don't worry about that.
Oh, so we can email them?
Yes, please, you must email them to me by midday next week.
Did you get the marketing definitions?
I got a few, I got like 3.
Okay, so just checking that your email address is getting.
Yeah.
I got Lewis, I got,
Mine is still outstanding.
yes,
I did email
going to give you 20 minutes off tonight. That you can go home. Are you feeling okay with education, or are you like, what the hell?
I just feel like it's a very personality-driven industry, despite what it would sound like.
I feel like it takes a lot of research, a lot of years of
Yeah.
experience.
And that's why you'll find that educational publishers are not job hoppers, hey? They are people who, once they are with a brand, they become very brand loyal, to whether it's Oxford or AUP or Nassau or Tropot or whoever. And so he's still alive, that's me and my author. The collective, the experience that they get within that industry makes them very valuable. And the relationships that they build. And so publishers don't want to lose them. So let me quickly send you the timetable.
Still alive.
Yeah.
Is that you to the author?
I've got an author, and so I'm working with an author. I'm a development editor on his book, but we've kind of left the publisher out of the loop the last couple of weeks. We've just been carrying on merrily writing. So she's clearly now, are you still alive? Very much alive, don't worry.
Are you working for a company? Or
Yeah, I feel like
Company.
we need to know your job description.
Yeah.
You do like everything.
Because I love it.
You know what? I'm finally, and I'm very happy to say it, at a point in my life where I do have a full-time job, where we do the e-learning, and I love that because it keeps me on the edge of technology a lot, and I still enjoy that. I enjoy tech specs and single sign-on and all this techie stuff. But I will always be a publisher in my heart, and I do a lot of freelance work late at night for publishers. So I have more than one job.
That's so yeah, because I kind of got that vibe.
No, I do many things. Jack of trade, master of none.